The Israel-Hamas conflict is exposing radical elements within our population who are cheering the terror attacks, but it's also exposing those in power in this country who are enthusiastically supporting the Palestinians over Israel, even going as far as accusing Israel of war crimes for their response. And I'm sure you can guess who's up to that. Watch.
However, we do know as well that war crimes do not constitute and are not an appropriate response for other war crimes. When we are talking about the blockading of water, food, electricity to a population, when we are talking about dropping what we're seeing from Human Rights Watch, reports and confirmation from organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, the dropping and deployment of white phosphorus, which is also a war crime.
Well, of course, Israel denies those claims, but naturally AOC believes anti-Israel watch groups and a terror group, Hamas, over Israeli governments. Join me now is host of the Dinesh D'Souza podcast, author and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza, also here executive editor of Common Sense Society, Chris Bedford. But, you know, AOC is not alone, Dinesh. The New York Times also believed Hamas when they ran that headline talking about, you know, what had happened, and they had to make their retraction. Why is there such a pro-Palestinian sentiment uprising in America, Dinesh?
Because although anti-Semitism can be found across the spectrum, you'll find it here, there, and everywhere. The ideology that justifies anti-Semitism is strongly on the left. And also what the ideology does is it supplies a kind of cover for anti-Semitism. So you say, I'm not an anti-Semite, I'm like an anti-colonialist. I see Israel as an occupying power in the region. Because, see, if your framework is that Israel is the unjust occupier and the Palestinians are the ones who are occupied, then you're going to put a heavier moral burden on Israel, which is exactly what's going on. Of course, historically, it's the exact opposite. This was the ancient land of the Jews, and Islam came along in the 7th century and colonized and occupied the place.
Yeah, let's bring in Chris Bedford. You know, I don't know if you've seen this, but the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, put out a video showing the sheer brutality and inhumanity of Hamas and how they just killed and just tracked down innocent young Israelis, shot them in the back. They fall. It's horrifying, horrendous. But AOC and the rest of the squad seem to be defending these murderous thugs, and I guess they don't think they deserve to be eradicated. Thoughts, Chris?
Well, it takes a certain willful ignorance to try to play into exactly what Dinesh was talking about, which was this narrative that seems to trump the facts in most cases around that we have in the United States these days. A political narrative takes hold. And for years past, because of the difference in military might, the press has really liked to treat this battle between Hamas and Israel as a David and Goliath fight, except reversing it and making it so that the Hamas is David as opposed to the Philistines. They believe this, but it was really disrupted over this past few weeks by exactly what you're talking about. The massacre of over 1,000 innocent people, of civilians, of elderly, of babies, of women, the parading through the streets. That sort of thing has made it so that the gut-wrench reaction to try and attack the Israelis as colonizers you see in college campuses, you see in newsrooms, has suddenly kind of run into a brick wall of facts. And the Free Press has been doing some interesting reporting on this. The sudden waking up that a lot of kind of casual limousine liberals had, or just fellow traveling liberals had over the past few years about their alliances with different groups, like some of the members of the squad, have really been called out, and a harsh light has been shown on them. And a lot of these folks are waking up and saying, holy smokes, I thought that I was a leftist, or I thought I was a liberal, or I thought I was woke, until I realized that that might mean, according to some of my friends, justifying attacks on babies and women and children. And now I think we're going to start to see a shift. We've seen hopefully the cresting of some of the more toxic aspects of the mainstream of this ideology.
Very, very quickly, Dinesh, are we seeing the left that don't understand these types of things, just taking the other side of what conservatives, I believe most of the conservative people I've talked to and know, are pro-Israel and pro-eradicating Hamas? Did this knee-jerk reaction of just taking the other side of conservatism?
They reflexively go to a certain way of thinking that they don't apply consistently. So the reflexive way of thinking here would be, the key word here is disproportionate. The idea is that Hamas came in and, let's say, killed a certain number of people. The Israelis cannot go out there and just kill 10 times that many. They've got to sort of be proportionate. Now, there's a kind of ancient wisdom behind this. I mean, if your tribe comes over to my tribe and kills 10 guys, I can come over and do the same, but I can't kill 10,000 guys in response. But see, here's the point. For Israel to be truly proportionate, to do the exact same thing, the Israelis would have to go into Gaza, find all these civilians, rape them, break their limbs, pull babies out of wombs and stab them. Obviously, they're not going to do that. So we're talking about two very different kinds of societies.
Yeah. I got to leave it there, guys. Dinesh D'Souza, Chris Bedford, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.